Ready?
Okay, so we are recording. Welcome everybody back to week 2. We're gonna have a good meeting this week. First things first, I'll talk a little bit about something, then I'll let Ethan kind of jump into it. Um, we do have a new member in here, Caleb. I don't know if you can hear us, but welcome to the club. I'll give a little introduction about myself. I'm the president of the Severe Weather Club. I'm Anthony Atoni, senior meteorology major with a math and GIS minor. Um, I've been going to school for 6 years now. It's been kind of a long journey, but we're about to the end of the journey, thank goodness. There's not that many people in here this week, so it won't be too long to everybody introduce themselves again. And I'll just, whoever wants to take over next, I won't pick out anybody, I guess. Just kind of introduce yourself like we did last week. That'd be great.
I'll go. My name is Ian Stearns. I'm a junior meteorology major here at Western. I also minor in GIS and math, and I am the secretary of the Severe Weather Club. So all the emails you receive this semester, those are coming from me.
I guess I can go next, this is my third year here at WIU. I'm a geography major. I've only got 3 classes left, and they're kicking my butt right now. Hoping to be done sooner than later. My minor is in my minor is in weather and climate. Yeah, that's about it about me. I mean, anybody else want to
go? I'll go. I'm Nathan Stoll. I'm a junior here, and I major in meteorology, and I got a minor in GIS, and I'm the Severe Weather Club treasurer.
I'll go next. I'm Anna Noble. I am a junior meteorology student as well. My minor is in broadcasting and journalism, and I don't hold any positions in the club.
I'll go next. I'm Brandon Maxey. I'm a senior. My major is in meteorology, and my minor is in emergency management, and I'm the webmaster.
Felicity Hughes, sophomore LEJA major and second year in the club.
I'm Caleb, and I'm a freshman, and I'm majoring in meteorology.
All right. Good job. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Caleb, nice to have you here. I'm just going to show a few things real fast and talk about something, then I'll let Ethan jump into his presentation.
go? No Rich this year?
No, I don't think he's going to do it this year. I'm not sure exactly what he's got going on, but he didn't. I've talked to him about it, and he said that he doesn't think he might show up every now and then, but it won't be anything like last year or whatnot. So I don't really know what his whole deal is there. So I'll share my screen here. Basically, the only thing I really kind of wanted to throw out here was if we look at where the front is across our area here, we can see that it's kind of draped across pretty much dead central Illinois, Springfield, Decatur, that area. And if we go over and look at satellite, we can actually kind of tell that the front is in that area just based off of these satellite imagery. And obviously the sun's going down a little bit here and there, so it's going to get a little lighter on this one. But yeah, so that's kind of something interesting if you're ever looking at surface maps and you want to see, where the front is. You can definitely tell where it's at based off of this satellite image here. And then if we go look over at 7-day outlook for Macomb, pretty much showers every day, pretty much probably like today. You get a little bit warmer towards the end of the week and towards the weekend, which is nice. I kind of like the old temperatures we had today. Those were pretty neat. But yeah, so that's just a little bit about the weather for this upcoming week. And then so I have a few things to talk about. Weather challenge, we will get into that. I got to talk to Rich, and the website is actually still not up. I think they said they hope to have it running by the 14th, I think. So that's whenever registration will begin. So I got to talk to Rich about taking over what he did last year with the manager and whatnot. But yeah, I'll talk to him about that. And I know I told you guys I would have shirts. So let me see if I can find the shirts.
Yeah, we got 2 shirts to make this year. One for
I
last year,
know.
one for this year. We have to make a retroactive shirt.
Yeah, I think I know what shirt we should try to remake.
Oh, we should do a shirt. We should do the COVID cane. Make a hurricane and then have like the COVID stuff around.
When I saw that on the Weather Channel, I about spit out my water when I was drinking it. I was like, "What is this COVID cane baloney?" I was like, "This is dumb." Okay, so let me see here. Where is my shirts? If I can't find it, we can do it next weekend or next week as well. I guess I did forget that it was in March and not in late May. Okay, so here we go. I think this is the one I want. Yep. Okay. So let me share my screen again. And obviously, we're not making decisions today, but we will make a decision within the coming weeks of what we want to do here with these. I'm assuming we probably would still get them, but I'm not 100% certain. But they will look something like this. Was to be the front of it. If you haven't seen it before, this is what it's like. I know we showed it last year before we left out. But that'll be the front of the shirt. It'll be purple. I believe that's what the color we decided on. And then the back of it will have all of this stuff here, basically signifying everything that meteorology is kind of clumped into or it has in a use for meteorology and whatnot. And basically, so towards the bottom here, Student Society of Geography. Ian, are you guys still doing stuff or what's going on with them?
We suspended our operations this semester simply because we're primarily focused on outreach, since we can't exactly do that. But we hope to resume it next semester, so we're still an organization as of right now.
Okay. Good. And then IESMA, and I don't know what the status of IESMA is. I talked to Mac, and he's still trying to get stuff brought back up with IESMA this upcoming semester. I don't know what they're going to do. He said he was going to try to make it to this meeting, but I think he's at work, so he's not able to make it. And then the bottom one here, if you're in geography, meteorology, GIS, this is actually our honor society, which is actually really nice. I don't know exactly what we're going to do this year since we're kind of shut down for most things. But we typically just meet about once a month and talk about what we can do. There's not that many members of it, so if you do get invited, it's not that expensive. I think you have to have like
Is there homecoming stuff? Is there homecoming stuff this year, or did that all get pushed to the side?
I would think it got pushed back. I don't really know 100%. Because with no actual football game, I don't know what they're gonna do. I know that the big gathering, that alumni gathering they were gonna have, it got pushed back till next year. So I'm thinking that everything will get pushed back. It could be in the spring if they decide if football's in the spring. We might have homecoming in the spring.
I just didn't know if they were gonna do like paint the town and like the floats and all that stuff or not.
Yes, if they do have it, we will do all that again. We'll do paint the town. We'll do the homecoming parade. Paint the paws was actually kind of fun. We should do that again. I don't even know what else we did. I think that's all. Oh, we did chalk the campus or whatever it was, what we were going to until it rained. But yeah. So if we do have homecoming, we will do those events. We just need bodies and whatnot, which I'm sure we'll get. But yeah, I mean, those are on the list. If we do it, we will do those. Those are always fun. The paint the paws, I think last year was the first year we did it.
That's usually in October, isn't it? Homecoming.
Yeah, October, late September into October. Yeah, but I don't see it happen in this semester. If I would think it would get pushed back till next semester if it was going to happen at all. But I can't.
Sorry
can't say
if I
that.
interrupt. My audio is lagging big time, like by 5 seconds. So like everything that's I'm now happened like 5 seconds ago. So I don't know if I'm talking over anybody or not.
No, you're okay. You're okay. And then Anna, do you want to talk about the Boy Scout thing that you had interested in, or do you have any more information on that?
I haven't gotten any more information from my uncle, but I can talk about it if you'd like me to.
Yeah, go ahead. That'd be great.
All right. So Normally in March, we go into Monmouth and present to a group of Boy Scouts, some scouts, for their weather badge. My little cousin happens to be a Boy Scout and was actually one of the ones that was supposed to go back in March before they canceled the thing. And so my aunt and uncle asked if I'd go out to their house and teach him stuff for his merit badge, which I went ahead and did. And then my uncle asked if and then I proposed it to Anthony and Dr. Finch, so, you know, others could help present to the troop here in my hometown, probably virtually, so they could all get their weather badge as well.
So yeah, I mean, once you find out some dates, just let us know or something, and we'll be able to probably get some people together. It shouldn't be a big deal at all. So.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of sucks. Last semester we weren't able to do the 4-H thing or any of the Boy Scout stuff. You know, we typically do that every year, and
yeah,
I don't even know if, like, you know, even in the spring if they're gonna want to do the 4-H stuff or not. I don't even know. That's usually in like April, but it would have happened last April, and we got done in March. So
yeah. Actually, since you brought that up, me and Dr. Finch were talking about doing something along the line of, instead of doing physical outreach, we could actually make videos and like present virtual outreach. So like, I mean, obviously we can just make videos on one topic. We don't have to be there. We can just send them the video of us discussing it, or we can actually have people there live doing it.
Adam Lucio's wife, or his girlfriend, she lives down in Texas, and that's what they're doing with Texas Storm Chasers. They do outreach, and they just made videos on like tornadoes, hurricanes, blizzards, like different hazards, and they're sending them out to like schools and stuff instead of, because they would typically go and like talk in person, so they're sending them out instead. So I don't know, that might be a good idea.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Just kind of, you know, having you make one video and you can use that video for 4 or 5 different things. You don't ever have to make it again until new information comes out. So yeah, we might look into that later on down the road once we get things going with that. And so that finishes up my stuff. So Ethan, if you want to go ahead and take the reins, go right ahead.
I'm gonna try to figure this out here. I'm gonna present my entire screen. Okay, entire screen, I guess. Is it showing up on my screen?
Yeah, your screen's showing up.
I'm not sure if I'm going to get any audio feedback or not, as I was getting some a minute ago, but I don't think I'm getting any now. Everybody still there? Or hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Alrighty, so I did a presentation on Hurricane Laura, and just to, you know, I didn't chase this event, and I put some reasons at the end. I had some pretty good reasons why I chose not to chase this. I had the whole week free. This is the first week of classes, and I didn't really have any homework, but I chose not to. And this was a satellite image the evening before it made landfall. It was approaching the Louisiana coastline, and there were some hot towers in the northern eye wall that were exploding. I thought it was a pretty cool satellite image, and it came ashore shortly around 1 a.m. But August 25th to 26th, it made landfall on the 27th, so there was plentiful warning several days in advance. In fact, the National Hurricane Center forecasted almost the exact point of landfall down to 0.6 miles with 69 hours of lead time. So almost 3 days of lead time. They basically said that it was going to make landfall near Cameron, Louisiana, which is exactly where it made landfall. And if you looked back further on the graphics, there was even more lead time than that for Louisiana. There was another tropical storm in the Gulf that kind of moved out of the way ahead of this and didn't really do much. It was supposed to be a hurricane, and it kind of dissipated. And it got out of the way, and this rapidly strengthened. But rapid intensification was noted in the discussion, although they did keep the intensity low until the day before. They kept it down, I think, forecasting, you know, a minimal Cat 2 to maybe a Cat 3. But they did note there was potential for Cat 3 landfall, giving low shear and high sea surface temperatures. And there was a couple things that came into play that made it a little stronger, I think, than forecast, and I'll explain those later on. This was a graphic the day before it made landfall showing sea surface temperatures in the western Gulf of Mexico, and it tracked from Cuba across the Gulf, and all these values here 30, 31, 32 degrees. That's like upper 80s to low 90s temperatures for sea surface temperatures, which is like bath water. When there's no shear, it's storm's just going to explode in that. And then in the afternoon, it finally had changed. It went from a minimal Cat 1 early that morning to a Cat 3 by late morning to early afternoon, basically exploding. It increased 65 knots in 24 hours, which is absolutely astounding. It's up there with Katrina and Rita and a couple others, big ones that have rapid intensification, but it's nowhere close to the record. The record is 95 knots in 24 hours, and that's Hurricane Wilma, and that also includes a 97 millibar pressure fall, and that was in 2005. Hurricane Wilma got down to 892 millibars. This did not get anywhere near that. It was now forecast to make landfall as a Cat 4 storm around 1 a.m. near Cameron, Louisiana. Unsurvivable storm surge of 15 to 20 feet was predicted, which they put out this nice little graphic out that showed anywhere from Intracoastal City over to the Texas state line was fair game for 10 to 20 foot of storm surge. And then really started getting going toward late afternoon, early evening. The eye constricted, started clearing out, hot towers exploding. These little white dots are lightning. The common misconception in hurricanes is there's no lightning, but this one had exceptional amount of lightning in the eye wall. The thunderstorms just continuously kept reforming throughout the day. There was a couple eye wall replacement cycles, but it never fully got there where the eye would collapse and then reform. So there was no weakening beyond maybe 1 or 2 millibars or 5 or 10 miles an hour, and then it would shoot right back up. And 65 mile per hour, 55 knot increase in over 24 hours. And that was from 7 p.m. the night before to 7 p.m. the night before landfall. So it made landfall high end with 150 mile per hour winds. And August 26th to the 27th, we're now in late evening. The Lake Charles Doppler radar begins picking up Hurricane Laura. And then the aircraft reconnaissance, which we continuously send out, every couple hours for hurricanes. I had saved several of these on my laptop, and this was the most impressive one about probably 6 hours before landfall, and it stayed this way up until landfall. It actually weakened a little bit. The pressure rose a little bit, but it's shown on this particular graph, mean sea level pressure, probably around 937, which is where the advisory was, and flight level winds just below 145 knots, which I think is close to, I calculated, it's probably in 160 to 170, but surface winds were showing right around 130, which is close to 150 miles per hour. So pretty close on with the Cat 4 rating that it got around that time. And there was a couple of these aircraft drop zones that got thrown out later on. They were showing values of 150 plus knots, and they were flagged probably due to extreme rainfall. And there's this little thing up here that says suspect FMR, and those are plotted on there when there's suspect excessive rainfall or some other element like a thunderstorm or something that's disrupted the drop zone to corrupt the data. Anyway, and this was the most impressive sounding that they put through the hurricane at 10:49 p.m. Just a few hours before landfall. They detected at the surface, which at this point was 954 millibars. And I'm not too sure about the legitimacy of this particular sounding because they had detected a surface pressure by this point of 938 millibars. So the winds may have actually been a little stronger, but it's detecting in the northeast eye wall an east wind 142 knots, which is about 165 miles per hour. So Cat 5, maybe. We'll see. We won't know that until after they do the tropical storm report in the spring. But the Lake Charles hands over their operations to Brownsville earlier in the day and evacuates ahead of a predicted 30-mile inland surge event, which was going to be pretty much unprecedented and mainly due to the terrain of southwest Louisiana. And then you can see it on Lake Charles radar as it's approaching. Lake Charles radar, little did it know, was in its final hours of life. It wasn't going to have much life left once this hurricane come in and snuffed it out. These blue bands here in the eastern eye wall doesn't show it on here. They actually had to increase the range on radar scope to go up to 250 miles per hour because the winds were so strong, and they've done that with several other hurricanes like Michael and Maria and Irma. But there was a couple 170 mile an hour readings in here, which it's still really far from the radar, so you can probably estimate 140, 150 mile an hour winds are making it down to the surface, and it's still a good 80 miles offshore too. So, and then a couple 3 hours before landfall, this was probably peak intensity, and I included these off tropical tidbits because I thought they were really cool. It shows where the aircraft reconnaissance is flying in, where they're flying out. They make several passes to the eye wall. Interestingly, on some of the observations, some of the stronger winds were actually in the northwest eye wall, and one of the weather observation sites put up near Holly Beach, Louisiana, by Mike Theis actually indicated 154 mile per hour wind gusts in the western eye wall. And I didn't include that in this presentation because it's kind of under some scrutiny because this pressure gauge was off and wasn't reading correctly. So I don't think they're quite sure exactly how accurate that is. But it is interesting that even in the flight observations, they are showing a little bit of higher intensity in the western eye wall versus the eastern and the southeastern eye wall. So kind of interesting. It'll be interesting to see what they show later on next spring when they release the full report, showing what happened. And then it finally makes landfall exactly right around 1 a.m., 12:53. This was the last radar loop that came out of Lake Charles, Louisiana, before the radar took a hit by that northern eye wall, which was coming over right there. Laurel makes landfall at 1 a.m. local time as a Cat 4 with 150 mile per hour winds. Observations near Cameron, Louisiana indicate gusts to 127 mile per hour. Again, that's probably accurate, and there could have been higher gusts. It's hard to get a anemometer to record anything higher than 100 unless you got a sonic anemometer or special equipment. Surge could have been as high as 17 feet in localized spots near Holly Beach, Louisiana, which was just to the west, and then Kalusha Pass, which was just to the east. It's still being investigated. Originally, it was thought there was only 5 to 10 foot of surge. Now they're thinking 14 to 17 feet, and I've seen a couple articles propose as high as 20 feet. I think they're still surveying, and there's a lot of places down here that are still 100% without power. And the radar went down at 12:53 a.m., and there was these little mesovortices in the eye you can see right south of Cameron here. And on a lot of live streams and a lot of Storm Chaser live feeds, they got into this eye expecting calm conditions, and these little vortices would hit, and the winds would go from calm to over 100 mile an hour just like that real quick. So there was a lot of chasers that I knew down there, friends of mine, told me there was no real calm. I mean, there was maybe a 5 or 10 minute lull, but the eye I think was constricting as it was approaching land, and this from the shore to Lake Charles is between 30 and 40 miles, and that's a long way for a hurricane to travel over land and maintain its intensity. So, and then this was a graphic that shows all the ASOS observations from this one site near Kalusha Pass, which was just east of Cameron, Louisiana. And it's indicating a peak gust of 127 mile per hour, which is about 112 knots. And then the winds rapidly fall in the eye, and then they increase. They would have actually been in the northeastern eye wall, and then as the winds dropped down, never got calm, they increased back, and the southeastern eye wall, not nearly as strong. Winds were just below 100 knots, so probably in the range of 90 to maybe 110 miles an hour. Still pretty strong. And the pressure here, it doesn't show it on this graphic, was 938 millibars at landfall. The observation that Mike Theis got further west near Holly Beach was 945 millibars. So this lines up pretty well with what the Hurricane Center said was going to happen when it made landfall with the pressure. And the highest gust inland near Laura was 137 mile per hour unofficially near Lake Charles, although the airport, if we're talking official, gusted to 133.5 miles per hour in the northern eye wall from the east at 1:42 a.m. All this verbiage up here, half mile visibility, fog, sustained at 85 knots, gusting to 115. So, sustained at 98, gusting to just under, just over 130. And the pressure was 955 millibars at Lake Charles Airport. So it's safe to say that when it got inland to Lake Charles, from Cameron to Lake Charles, it weakened quite a bit. I still think it was probably a Category 4 hurricane. Advisory shows 130 to 140 when it got over the city. There was some speculation online as to how strong exactly it was, and they won't determine that until, like I said, till probably spring. But with those type of winds, definitely still probably Cat 3, Cat 4, and mesovortices or little tornadoes in the eye wall, likely enhanced wind damage. And this was Lake Charles on the Houston radar. They were actually in the eye as this radar image was taken, but because Houston's way down here to the southwest, the eye was actually tilted. So the radar, it's kind of confusing to me, but the radar image, the clear air should actually be a little further northeast because of how the radar is so far out. It's several thousand feet off the ground, and a lot of chasers in Lake Charles or just south of here were still reporting extremely strong winds. So, and then the eye got over Lake Charles around 2 to 3 a.m., and this is where it was really collapsing. It was losing its oomph. The southern eye wall was starting to, build in on the eye, and a lot of these little blobs that are forming in the inner eye or mesovortices or little small scale circulations, probably did a lot of wind damage. A lot of power lines down across Lake Charles, a lot of trees. Of course, the radar was down, broadcast towers were down, very consistent with winds of 130 to 150 miles per hour. Very limited storm surge inland, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Power's still out 2 weeks later for many, and it's probably going to be out for another week or two, I would imagine. And it spread 110 miles, 100 mile per hour wind gusts, and 150 miles per hour of a hurricane force wind gust, almost to the Arkansas border. But for comparison, the Iowa derecho just a month ago spread 100 mile per hour wind gusts, almost 250 miles from northwest Ames, Iowa to north central Illinois. So these values, these top values of wind gusts are just over land. So this swath here is probably a lot longer. But I thought it was interesting, a convective derecho event spread winds much further and much stronger than a Category 4 hurricane. Obviously in this they were probably stronger in localized areas, but just kind of interested me. And this was the last radar, and it says radar data is temporarily unavailable for this location, and if you go down to Lake Charles radar, it is still unavailable. Over 70 people lost their lives, almost $9 billion in damages, and that's surely to go up. Strongest storm to hit Louisiana since the 1856 last island hurricane. 10th strongest cyclone to hit U.S. territories in terms of pressure. And the second time a U.S. radar has been knocked out by a major hurricane. The last one was Maria in 2017 in Puerto Rico. And this was a picture of the radar when it was done. The dome's ripped off, and I'm sure all the instruments inside are heavily damaged. And this was Brett Adair's photo. The office itself, they said, sustained minimal damage, but I decided not to chase despite having the time. You couldn't get any closer than 30 miles of the coast. That's typically where the worst conditions are due to terrain. Filming conditions would be poor due to power failure and a midnight landfall. Overall, though, it was a very fascinating storm, and it could have been a lot worse for inland areas. There were several, interesting observations from, the mesovortices to the eye, strong winds within the eye. And then this data will obviously change as the final report is issued next year. But I don't think I have anything more on here. But if I go back, what could have been worse with this is, and I don't have it on here, but to the west, there was a 350 millibar jet that was coming in, and I had a satellite image saved, and I can't remember what I did with it. But the hurricane was coming in, and it was in the right exit region of this jet, and that's what pulled the hurricane in and pulled it northward. Well, what could have happened would have been the same thing that happened with Hurricane Zisius. A sting jet developed, which was around 300 millibars, and accelerated that hurricane northeastward, and actually caused, even though the storm was undergoing extratropical characteristics, it actually caused it to intensify in terms of wind. And it's not something that I've ever learned about in Synoptic 1 or 2 or any class. I had to kind of look it up myself, and I do have a little bit of a graphic that shows kind of what happens. It's mostly in extratropical cyclones, but it does happen in hurricanes. It didn't happen in this one, but it could have easily spread winds a lot further in than what they did. So, and these are my sources. I think I cited everybody that I used, but second here. Yeah, and that's about what I got for the hurricane. And if I find that graphic, is my screen still showing or no?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, this is what I found on a Sting jet. I don't know if anybody's interested in this or not. I was, and I don't know if you guys have learned about this in any of the classes. I took Synoptic 1 and didn't learn about it, and I have the book for Synoptic 2, and it doesn't tell you anything about it. But it's apparently primarily something that happens over in Europe and the United Kingdom. But it's like in the right exit region of the jet, you get these really intense winds at 300 millibars, and they like it's like injects into like the southwest side of the storm, and that's what happened with Isisius, or however you pronounce it, back in early August. And it also happened with Hurricane Michael, and I thought it was going to happen with this because of the close proximity of the jet stream, but that ended up not being the case, thankfully, or it could have spread those strong winds probably well up into southern Illinois and Kentucky and Tennessee and the Ohio Valley, similar to some other storms in the past. But I don't know how to turn the presentation off.
Should be at the bottom. It should say you're presenting to.
Okay. Hopefully that wasn't too boring.
Oh, that was interesting.
I wish I'd gotten to chase it, but like I said, it was dark, and I have some friends that went down there for it, and there was a good video, but you can't really see much in the dark, and you're kind of, when it's 1, 2 in the morning, you're stuck in one spot. You could be driving over nails and all kinds of other crap that's in the road, and yeah. So, and especially, I was gonna show, I didn't have time for it, but if you look at the map of Lake Charles, the reason they were expecting the surge to come so far inland was it's all rivers and lakes around that area, so the water gets pushed up into the river basin, similar to how New Orleans is. So had the storm tracked 10 miles further west, it would push all that water up into Lake Charles, and it would have just channeled and built up, and there probably would have been 20 foot of water in Lake Charles, similar to what happened with Katrina in New Orleans, except Katrina, they had a north wind, but because of where Lake Pontchartrain is, it was able to still overtop the levees. It was pushing the water from Lake Pontchartrain into the city, and then broke the levees and then flooded the city. So it could have been a similar situation. Thankfully, it wasn't. 140, 150 mile an hour winds is bad enough. You don't need 20 foot of water on top of that. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting storm. A lot of the damage looked pretty similar to what I saw in Cedar Rapids with the derecho. So, like I said, I kind of thought maybe 140 mile an hour is probably where they had it, and that's another topic. That's another crazy storm. So, but
yeah, you're not kidding. You are not kidding. But yeah, thank you for that presentation. That was good. And did they ever say how long it would take for that radar to come back? Was it 6 months?
I didn't hear. I wouldn't be surprised 6 months to a year. I think that the one in Puerto Rico took over 6 months, but it's still down. Even, and if you go to poweroutages.us, and I turned the presentation off so I can't show it, but it still shows Colusa and Cameron parishes, which are the two counties that got hit the hardest, are still 100% without power. So Tim Marshall said it might be up to a month before they get power. And for reference, Cedar Rapids was out of power for 3 weeks with the derecho. So we'll see. I'm sure this is going to surpass that. I can't imagine all that power line damage trying to fix that. And
yeah,
can't even imagine that being out of power for a month.
I don't even want to think about that. I don't even know how they have this many power poles. I feel like all the power poles got sent to Cedar Rapids. And I feel like, where are these poles coming from?
They're probably calling, and they're probably like, well, we're going to need some of those power poles back.
Yeah, no kidding. Because they're all wiped out.
We're going to need all that stuff we sent you like 2 weeks ago back. So you got to take it down, and you're going to have to figure it out.
Wouldn't surprise. I mean, my gosh, I don't even want to know how many power poles they've got to better do.
All I know is I heard in Iowa they had like it was like several thousand miles of power lines they had to repair, and I don't even know how many power poles that is, but I can't even imagine with like down in Louisiana, it's probably about the same. It's probably thousands and thousands of power poles.
And not to mention just power poles, you got those the huge towers too, the metal ones.
Yeah, they two TV stations lost the big broadcasting towers. They just fell over, crumpled. One of them went right into the building.
That's a heck of an event. That is for sure. Okay, well, that's all we've got for this week. Anybody want to add anything at all? I'm not sure what we're going to do next week yet. We might have another presentation. We might just go over some more weather things, basic things. Not 100% sure yet. We'll let you know whenever the email comes out this upcoming week what we've got going on. I haven't really decided or thought about it too much yet. But yeah, we'll let you guys know. And guess we'll see you guys all next week. So thanks for coming.
Quick.
Yes, sir.
When we get the T-shirts done, I think we should think about maybe contacting Dr. Beaker to see if he still wants to buy one. I know he's not part of the university, like working here anymore, but he still might be interested in buying one. I talked to him a little bit over the summer, so and he was asking about club and stuff. So I just didn't know if when we got a T-shirt done, if people still contacted him and see if he wants to buy one and maybe send one out his way.
Yeah, I'll let him know. I still have the master list of who ordered them and whatnot. I haven't really looked at it since last year.
Yeah, I know I ordered one back and I didn't pay for it. I don't think anybody really paid for them. I'm not sure, but I know I didn't pay for it yet. That we didn't have time. We literally signed up for them and then it was over.
Yeah, that was
So
that was the bad deal. Yeah, we should have one, and then we might do another shirt in the spring. Who knows?
Alrighty.
Not 100% sure on that one yet, but yeah, we'll get her all figured out. So, all right, I guess that's where we'll end it, and I will see you guys all next week, hopefully. So, take care.
All right.